All right. As you heard, this event is being recorded for those who can't make it today. If anyone feels uncomfortable with that, then do keep your cameras off or leave the event, preferably not the second. So welcome to this OA book policy-a-thon. The idea here really is to have a really active workshop. To see how we can ensure a fantastic knowledge base that was developed as part of an EC project can remain up to date with your help. So how can we add policies? How does the system work? And then you can ask questions to those who are managing the system. So, and it also just reserves an hour of your time in your diary where you think, oh, I can always add that policy at some point. And today is the moment where you might be able to just, it's in the diary, so we can get going with that. So it's an open access books network webinar. Before we get going, just a couple of housekeeping rules. Please stay muted unless you're speaking later with your questions. We're very happy to hear from you. We'd really like to encourage your participation if it's in the chat or raising your hand in Zoom, opening the mic on invitation. We will be recording, as you know, the event, but not the conversation. So there you should really feel free to ask any questions at all. And we will share the recording after the event. So for those of you who don't know the Open Access Books Network, it's a joint initiative coordinated by Spark Europe, Open Book Publishers and OAPEN. And it's a really amazing network with hundreds of members, brings together publishers, librarians, researchers and authors, funders and policymakers, infrastructure providers, and anyone else interested in OA books. So it is really bringing the whole community, all the actors who care about accelerating open access to books. So discussing and learning about open access books. We've got lots of places where you can interact. You've got the links there. And also we have all sorts of events and webinars, blog posts, newsletters, and what have you. And it's actually not really me who's doing that, but very much Lucy, Silke, and Andrea, and others, of course, from the community who contribute. So great that this is still so alive and kicking, and do watch out for some of the other future events because they really are great. Okay, so today's agenda, as I said, we're building on the PALOMERA EC project knowledge base, which has hundreds of funder and institutional policy documents from 39 countries. But it was about a year or so now where we finished uploading content to that project. So things I'm sure have changed. And even just to review what we have in there from your country, from your institution, would be good to check, because we really want to make sure that this is valuable, and it can only be valuable if it's up to date, right? So this is why you're here, and that's why it's so important that you are here and that you take action and upload and search and, give us your feedback. So first of all, Neil Stern, who is the managing director of OAPEN and the co-director of DOAB, he will introduce the knowledge base to those of you who haven't had the pleasure. And then we've got Cinciana Valentiniano, sorry about the pronunciation, who is project manager at OAPEN. She will tell us how to upload policies, and she's been really working on how to improve that system. So thank you very much for that work over the last month, Cinciana. And then we have a discussion where you try and see how it works for you, and any questions go. That's not going to be recorded, and we will then close the meeting. So we have an hour in total. Hope that makes sense. And I think I'm going to hand over now to Niels to show us the knowledge base. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you very much, Vanessa, and good morning, everyone. Um, Actually, I'm going to give you just a brief overflight of the project that resulted. One result of the project was this knowledge base. So just to give you the context, basically for the knowledge base, and then since Jana will indeed go into more detail. So I will run through 2 years of European funded projects, the PALOMERA project, which is short for Policy Alignment of Open Access Monographs in the European Research Area, and just give you um, some of the key facts here. The project was it was EU funded. It was running for 2 years, beginning in January 2023, with 16 members in the consortium, coordinated jointly by Operas and OAPEN, and with the objective to understand why so few open access policies include books, and also then to, based on that understanding and evidence collection and across the landscape, to provide evidence-based recommendations to change this situation. So that's what we set out to do. And the way we did it was based on this methodology. So firstly, we had to investigate, we had to collect data and create a base of knowledge. So this is where the knowledge base was um, created. What we did was to research across 39 countries in the European research area. So we did desktop research, of course, but we also did interviews with key stakeholders. We did surveys as well. And all this um, has been put into the knowledge base, which you will see more in detail later. Then we analyzed it. That was the second phase. We put a lot of emphasis into the research of all the data we had collected. And finally, based on all that, we came up with recommendations and some resources to support our recommendations. And you see there are 3 steps of validation in the methodology. So for each phase, we asked basically the wider community. We shared our findings and we asked for feedback. So we had these validation events, which were very, very useful. So the key results of the project, basically 4 key results. The knowledge base, which we'll focus on today. The research itself, probably the most elaborate or most comprehensive open access policy research till date. And then the recommendations, a funder forum. And then we marked in this different color, we looked into how a future policy development tool could look like, but this was not something we developed as part of the project, but we just gave some ideas about what it could look like. So firstly, the knowledge base comprising the documents that we found. So altogether, more than 650 documents were added. These were policy documents and also policy-related documents. We added them to this open source knowledge base where they can be found. And we also found the relevant parts of the policies that related to books. And when these policies were not in English, we translated those snippets of the policies that were dealing with books. I won't go into details about how to navigate the knowledge base, but it's of course fully navigational. By facets, you can browse through the base, but you can also search it. And for example, you can browse by country, so you can go to your own country, have a look what we found, and this was partly what we did in the validation exercise to ask participants to see whether they could see that we had missed some policies, and this is still something we really encourage everyone to do. So that's one way of navigating it. But also you can, of course, search more specifically by institution. So these are both institutional policies and funder policies or national policies. And also the interviews have been transcribed, anonymized. You can find them in there as well, most of them, and the surveys as well. So I think we have almost 700 documents in the knowledge base right now. This research and the evidence in the knowledge base was also used to provide short, easy, digestible articles deriving from the policy research. So we have 10 new articles added to the OA Books Toolkit in a new section on policies and funding that you can visit here. Then the research itself, I'm not going to go into that. There's a big report comprising all the results. We have identified key policy elements, which are really important to focus on. So just here you can see some of them. For example, rights and licenses is something that needs, in our view, based on the research, needs to be addressed in any given policy. We are not normative, so we don't say how it should be addressed, what kind of licenses or what kind of funding or what kind of compliance or and so on. But it's just important that a policy is addressing these elements. Then the Funder Forum, we convened funders, especially research funding organizations during the project in meetings where we used the Chatham House rule to create trust and really have funders share their experiences and discuss challenges. And during the project, we had 3 online meetings and 1 in-person meeting with the funders, many countries being represented. And this funder forum was seen as quite useful to the participants. So we decided to continue it as a policy forum coordinated by Science Europe, Coalition S, and OAPEN, and actually continuing and broadening also the scope of the policy forum so that we also have observation status from the European Universities Association and also from Spark Europe, representing the CONOSC, the national policymakers. So it's an exciting new way of having a more structured conversation about policy relating to open access books. And with the OPRA's Open Access Books Special Interest Group, which consists of this Open Access Books Network, but also an Open Infrastructure Working Group and a working group on business models. We have a very nice interaction between the policy level and the community level. So finally, just to say that we came up with recommendations. I'm not going to go into these today because that's not the focus, but you can visit the report in Zenodo, and then you'll also see that we have quite detailed, specific recommendations for each of these stakeholder groups. And already we see libraries around and also publishers really working with these recommendations. So that's very rewarding. But I will end here and then leave the floor to Cynthiana to go further into the knowledge base. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Niels. Passing the baton on to Cynthiana. Go ahead.
Thank you. Let me just share my screen. Hope it works. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining. My name is Cynthiana Politinano. I'm a project manager at OAPEN, and in the following minutes, I would just like to show you how to add a document to the knowledge base. So first, you would go to this website, to the knowledge base, and then go to the right-hand corner here to log in and click on New User. So you would click here to register. And you would have to provide your email address. And this is just a loop that I won't do it right now, but it's very straightforward. It takes just a couple of minutes. You would have to agree to the end user agreement, provide a password, your name, and then basically that's that. And you have a new account. So let me just try to log in here. With the same kind of account that you would have. And on the left-hand side, you would have a new sidebar. And to add a new policy, you would go to New, Item, and then you would choose the collection Palomera Suggested Documents. And then you would see the submission form, which at first sight may appear a bit lengthy. It has only like 3 fields that are mandatory. So the title, the date of issue, and right at the very bottom, the deposit license. It would be very helpful if you could fill in a bit more information than just the very minimum, so that the document is easy to be found by users. For instance, if you can provide the country that the document refers to or the language, any of these details would just place it more specifically in the collection. And I would like to mention that today, the document, when you submit it, it would go directly into the collection, which is not the usual workflow, but for this event, we thought it would be like a very good idea to just make sure that your documents can instantly join the collection. Starting tomorrow, we would revert to the usual workflow where a document submitted by a new user would be queued and then reviewed by experts and then added to the collection. So if you have a bit more time and you have the knowledge about the document that you're submitting, you could fill in this form to a larger extent. So starting from the top, you would just make sure to add the document as an attachment, as a PDF or an Excel file, depending on the type of document that you would like to see added there. Then perhaps the document has an author or an organization that issued it. You would add it here. In case there are more, then you would click Add More and provide them all. Other titles for the document, if it has perhaps a publisher, depending on the type of document, perhaps it has a series number or a report number, a DOI, a URL. If it's a book, perhaps the ISBN. And then there's the question, what type of document this is, and you could refine here as well and specify it's a thesis or it's a web page that's downloaded as a PDF. So this kind of information. We noticed that users really like searching by language. So here as well, it would be really important to provide the language or the languages of the document. And you would type here, for instance, English, and hit enter, and then select the language. And it can very well happen that the language, the document is multilingual, so you can add more languages following the same logic. Then stakeholder, here you have a drop-down menu, and it is about the category, the larger category in which the author or the organization fits in. For instance, if you have a university, then you would choose research performing organization. And if it fits in more categories, then of course you would select libraries as well, or another category, depending on the document. PESTLE category, this is perhaps a bit more mysterious, but it just refers to the aspect that the document focuses on. For instance, if the document is emphasizing the economic aspects of OA book policy publishing, then you would choose economic. If you find that it has lots of context, actually, then you would choose contextual document. For these as well, we have filters in the knowledge base. So if you mark these fields here in a specific way, the document can be filtered and found when users search by a certain PESEL category. The rights metadata field is also really important if the document that you're adding to the knowledge base has a specific license, it's copyrighted. This is the box where you can specify this. And then country is again a very used filter by users. So it would be important to be able to link this document that you're submitting to a specific country. And here again, you type the name of the country, let's say Spain, you select it, and then if the document refers to more countries, then you can add them here. Right, so here there are actually just a few more steps. The abstract is pretty straightforward. It's the summary of the document, so either you copy paste a summary from the document itself, or you could type two sentences to explain to the user what the document is about, and that's it. The description box can be skipped or used if, for instance, your document relates to another document, it's an updated policy, then you can make a gesture here and say, this document is an updated policy of this one, and you can add the link in the knowledge base so the user understands the connection more easily between the two of them. And just at the very end, there's a deposit license, briefly explained that the knowledge base is made available under the open database license. What this means in 4 paragraphs. And then you'd have to confirm the license above and either save it for later or just deposit and contribute the document to the knowledge base. And that's it, basically. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cynthiana. We have a couple of questions in the chat. One from Anna. So it's regarding the email. Is that for the registration, I suppose? Anna, do you want to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right, Vanessa. It's just when you register the account, does that have to be a shared email address, or does it have to be an individual one? I'm just thinking in terms of if departments are sort of sharing responsibility for uploading documents.
I think it can very well be an institutional shared account, and more people can use the same one. If that works for you, that's great.
That's perfect. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Lucy has a question. So can the abstract or some of the other fields be given in any language? What's the preferred is there a preferred language, or is there an option to have multiple languages even?
That would be great to have the database more multilingual. At the moment, we do not have the possibility to translate the pages unless you do this in your own browser. So we would probably prefer to have it in English. If you prefer to add another language, that's really welcome. I don't think we have like one single policy, but the lingua franca would, I think, still be English. Yeah.
Vanessa, have you frozen? Or are you still with us? I think Vanessa may have frozen. We have another question in the chat from Sylvia. Is there an advanced search option? E.g. on the public interface, I didn't find the option to search for type.
let me share my screen again. So, okay. If I go to the search box, then I will have more options here to refine the keyword search here by selecting a specific author from a list, or the PASL categories here, the country. The type of document is not going to show up at all here, because we prioritized what would be the main facets and browsing interfaces that the users that we asked would prefer. And then there are the limitations of what the software repository has to offer. So these are the main blocks that you can work with to do a more refined search. And in addition, you can also go up here to browse the repository, and then you can search by date, author, title. This would take you to the country in a different way than this one. These are new improvements that are of recent date, and we will fine tune there as well a bit. And then the latest addition is the ability to search by language. So this is basically what you can do in terms of search functionalities.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthiana. Sylvia, did you want to come back on that?
Can I ask? Yeah.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Thanks for the response, and actually thanks for the whole stuff you made during this PALOMERA project, because I really use it day by day, as we are a small publishing house dealing with open access publishing, and there's a lot to do in this changing the minds regarding open access books. So it's really useful. And because I asked, especially the type, is that I realized that the Hungarian records in this knowledge base, basically publications, information sheets and stuff like that. And there are maybe 2 or 3 policies. And it would be really useful to see how many policy type documents are included in the database, and what are the others. And it can be useful because I'd like to, I don't know, involve people in Hungary, Hungarian universities, publishers, whatever, to enrich this database. But it's maybe to highlight what are the missing stuff, or highlight what kind of documents would be the best to include in this database. Then it would be useful to see what types are included at the moment, because it seems like a bit random at the moment. So the question is like that.
Thank you. I made a note that types of documents is really important for you in your case. And perhaps this will be relevant for others as well. In our hierarchy of metadata, this wasn't like a very prioritized metadata field. So it was more like the language is important, the country, the PASL categories, the stakeholders. So the type sort of was more at the bottom. But we did include this in the new submission form. So the one that I showed you now, it has been reworked and made to fit better the knowledge base. So in the next round of revisions, we'll try to be more specific about all the types of documents in the whole collection. As to Hungary, I hope you found the way of getting an overview by going to browse the repository by subject, and then you'll find the 18 documents for Hungary. So it's already a good way of slicing the knowledge base and getting exactly the piece that you're interested in. Silke, you also had a question. Would you like to ask?
Sure, I can speak it
Yeah.
instead. So you mentioned, for example, in the description is where you could add whether a link to the previous policy, but what if you're coming across a policy and it's the first version, how would you know that there were other versions? I mean, it depends on what kind of search you yield, but maybe if you're just browsing and you stumble across it, is there a way to another metadata field, or are there plans to add a metadata field for that? And I suppose, we're relying a lot on community support to keep it up to date with these policies, but I suppose there's no way to go back to an older policy unless you were the one that submitted that to make a change, to say, oh, actually, there's a newer version. So maybe if you've got anything to respond to that.
Yeah, it's I did see several cases when we have versions of the same policy or different rounds of consultation with their documents that resulted in a certain policy at some point. And it would be nice to have these linked and not like scattered at the same level. And to have this like chronological depth, the software also has to give us the possibility to do this beyond just like typing this is connected to this one link. So I mentioned that we have a DSpace 8 version, and I will look into the new possibilities of the software to be able to facilitate these connections with hyperlinks of some sort, which would be very nice. So this is also on my to-do list. Yes.
Thanks, Cinziana. Welcome back, Vanessa. We've got you back, have we?
Yes, I crashed.
Excellent.
So that means I kind of lost the chat, but I think the next one is Anna.
Yeah.
So Anna had a question in terms of how the records display in the top level search. Would it be possible to always show the owner to avoid having to go into a record to see who it belongs to? So yeah, saving time for the person who deposited it. And
yeah, I think so. Because I've just done a quick search by the UK, and the top, just on the very high level, the top one says it's Emerald, but the second one just says publishing open access. So you don't know who that's by, who's deposited that. So obviously, I know it depends on what information the owner adds, but it would be really useful to have that field to see who the owner is, so you can just see very, very quickly who it is. I know you can filter via type, etc., but I just think that would be a useful feature.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it really shows how important it is to have the rich metadata. Yes, I made a note.
So Mary, can one recall or delete a document after submission? That is a very important question. Because if you make a mistake, or if you find, oh, it actually was already in there, or whatever it is, it's always good to know how can you recall that. Yeah, Anna also thinks it's a good.
That's a very good question. I, as a new user with a view that you have, I would have to test it. I'm sure there is a possibility of editing your own submitted items and of deleting them, but I would have to double check. If in doubt, then you can contact us. There's also a form for this right at the very bottom, which says send feedback. On every page it appears. So should that not work and have basically ownership of your entry, then just contact us and we'll fix.
Yeah, Niels is saying that could be
Yes.
perhaps added to the guide, or of course any other changes suggested that are made there.
Yes.
We need to update the guide. That question on rights retention, was that already addressed whilst I was no longer in the room, or is that a new one?
That was me again. Sorry, that's just a comment on
Mhm.
on Silke's question, just saying that obviously lots of I mean, I know everyone's doing it differently, but in the UK, lots of universities, when they're creating sort of a right of attention policy, often they just update existing policies. So it would be good to have that link to, if their previous policy is in the knowledge base, to have some way of linking it to show policy progression.
Yes, I think that's really important. And you are going to see more and more, hopefully, through the Palomera project and the knowledge base, that books will become part of larger policies, open access policies, right? So that is going to be quite important that we have that versioning sorted out somehow, or linking to, related to another policy, or marking that. It would be good for you guys to think about how to do that here, because I think that would be a bigger, more frequent ask. All right. Everybody ask the questions they need to get started. If you haven't already tried out the knowledge base. We had the link, didn't we, in the chat somewhere? I don't have it now because I crashed, but if we could put the link in again to the knowledge base so that people can start searching before they add anything. Oh, yes, great. Thanks. And I just like, oh, hang on, wait a minute, Lucy, you had a mentee, didn't you? What did you want to ask with that before we get moving?
Yeah, so that was just to sort of guide this discussion section that we're going to move into now, just to find out how well everybody here knows the knowledge base and if you've brought any policies to share, to upload.
Oh, yes, okay.
So I'll pause the recording or stop the recording at this point, because then we can move into the discussion, which we're not going to record. So I will stop that.